So, hey everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Always Wolves Squadcast. And I'm joined again by my co-host, Manny. How you doing, Manny?
I'm doing fine, thank you very much for inviting. And it's a bit strange doing it this way, but we'll give it a go.
And, well, yes, exactly. And also Kevin Rogers, who you might have heard on recent episodes, again joining us today with his 1974 shirt. Is that right, Kevin?
Indeed, yeah.
CEO of Paycare, and also you're is it patron or not patron?
I'm a trustee of the foundation.
Of the foundation. So we thought we'd all us three get together and have a little natter, and hopefully, first off, I'll just apologise if the quality of the audio isn't what it would normally be if we were in a room together all mic'd up. But at least we've got a little bit of content to share. So first off, Premier League football, how are we missing it?
How are we missing it? I think initially the shock of shutting down football is pretty huge, and we were all wondering straight away, when will it be back? Will it be behind closed doors? What will happen with our tickets? And now suddenly, I think a lot of it is being put to the back of people's minds for now and filed away because of the enormous scale of this, pandemic, which, let's be honest, I don't think any of us really knew the real truth and how much horror that it was going to cause. And, we know that people, nobody lives forever, but to lose loved ones in this way where there is no treatment, I think for us, I think it is in the back of our minds at the moment, but we're all thinking what will happen, but I don't think short term we're expecting anything to happen, is it?
No. Well, the Premier League, Kevin, do we think it'll get finished?
I think, picking up from what Manny said, I think we do have to put all things into perspective at this time. But it is such a strange time for football. It's not even like close season, is it?
No.
When you've got all the kind of transfer speculation going on, is it going to sign? What transfer, ridiculous stories are coming out.
The last is still in the air.
You got nothing to really look forward to, or to have any kind of timescale. I think it will be finished. I think that there's too much liability with the Premier League, particularly from Sky and the broadcasters, not to get this finished. When that will be, goodness only knows.
I saw an article actually earlier on today talking about the financial situation and what the clubs will lose if it's not completed. The TV money, it's a massive sum of money if they don't complete the season, and it would affect even the richest clubs. So I think
a lot of teams bank on that money to succeed in their season. So not having any of that, well, obviously they'll suffer. Like Kevin says, I don't think anybody truly knows how this will pan out, and I don't think the authorities do at the moment. No one's really released any definitive, time scales or anything. UEFA has sort of indicated they want seasons finished on a certain date, but then they say indefinitely. Some people have even said this could go on most of the year, and you could start the season in November, December, and just almost finish this season off and just have a couple of competitions and almost write off a season, because a new season hasn't started. This season's about 75-80% completed.
Well, so, yeah, we've got like 9 matches to go, isn't it? I mean, and I think they probably will get the season finished, personally, but I don't think you're going to see it restarting probably until June, maybe mid-June at the earliest, and it'd probably be closed behind closed doors. There was an interview, wasn't there, done on the which is a really good podcast, the Athletic Molyneux View podcast with Kobe. And he was saying they're desperate to finish it. It's not ideal. It's not like not having the fans there, but they just want all that work that they've done to come to a conclusion one way or another.
not to do that would be soul destroying, wouldn't it? I mean, you're seeing that to a degree in the lower leagues. You know, as an organisation, we sponsor Darlaston Town and Bilston Town, and they're devastated. It's just finished. I mean, you also look at Wolves Women.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you. If the season was to be null and voided, Liverpool 25 points in the league, you know, probably will win the league. Well, almost certainly will without any shadow of a doubt. But should they be given the title? And that comes back to your point about Wolves women, so far in front in their women's league.
Yeah, there was a non-league side as well, weren't they? There was a non-league side that had won 27 out of their 28 matches in one of the, you know, was so far ahead, and that's it. I think they're playing their cup competition is still technically still on, the FA Vase or the FA Trophy. They haven't cancelled those, but yeah, that is the situation to have that. And I think as you go up the scale of the leagues, when you get to the Premier League, because of the money involved, the decision to cancel it is a huge decision, isn't it?
A massive decision.
You've not only got the television money. I heard an interview on Talk Sport with Simon Jordan, and he was talking about almost the contingent liabilities the clubs have got with season tickets. So what happens with season tickets if you cancel the season? And he was talking specifically about Arsenal, and he estimated they've got a liability of 12 to 15 million pounds that they would have to, in some way, reimburse season ticket holders. And that's
either that, or they would have to sort of discount the tickets for the following season and say, look, a third of the season or a quarter of the season's gone. We'll reduce season ticket prices by 25% for the following year. Maybe fans would accept that. Because you're right, if they don't play, even if they play the games behind closed doors, they've still got, the fans have paid that money. But when you look at the revenues, I mean, I think Wolves Gates is something like 2.5 million. And they, depending on where they finish in the league, currently they're 40-odd million for their TV rights. So it's a really minuscule proportion compared to the TV money.
I think, you know, because of the scale of the situation, if this was just a match that was cancelled because of the weather or something, this situation is so unique. There'll be a double thinking of fans, where fans won't mind maybe suffering a little bit because of knowing that, you know, it's almost doing their bit to help their club as well, because clubs will suffer. It doesn't matter what size of club you are, you will still suffer to a degree, and there will be a thought amongst some fans that might think, oh, you know, we're fine, do what you need to do, we'll support you. And obviously I think the club have already shown, with paying all their staff, with the community work that they've been doing, that they're prepared to put extra money in. Fosun have spent, Kevin will probably know how much millions and billions of pounds they've spent on this pandemic already, so they're fully behind it. I think our chairman, Guo Guangchang, hosted a Zoom yesterday, and he got all the doctors of the world, and Matt Perry was on there, the Wolves doctor. So he had him included in this big worldwide doctors conference. And he wants to know, and he wants their advice to see what he can do next to support them to find a cure.
It's great that the Fosun are quite, because obviously from China they've been trying to support. They've sent masks and stuff over to New Cross, haven't they? I think in Wolverhampton as well. And some of the players have been doing their little bit to help. I think was it Jota that's bought two...
Ruben Neves, yeah.
Oh, was it Ruben Neves, was it? That's bought two ventilators for his local hospital in Portugal?
Yeah.
You know.
Picking up on what you said, Dave, about the fans accepting things, I think fans will accept a lot that they wouldn't normally accept if they see the clubs behaving ethically. And I think we've seen that with Liverpool. You know, the backlash Liverpool got for what they did was quite right, because they didn't need to do that. And I think we can take really great pride in what Fosun were the first club to do it.
They came out, didn't they, and said, you know, all the non-playing staff, don't worry, we've got your backs, we're going to look after you. And like you're saying, Liverpool, and they've changed their decision because of the backlash, you know, fair play to them. But Tottenham, I think they're the 7th richest club in the world.
It is, yeah.
They're still doing that, and it does leave a bit of a bitter taste in people's mouths, doesn't it? In that respect.
Well, it will do when they go and spend 60 million on a player.
Well, exactly. As Wolves fans, I think we can be pretty proud of our owners and the way they do try and help. And
you've probably seen them. I saw that video of Steve Bull ringing one of the fans, and it was hilarious because the club have been ringing elder or vulnerable supporters, former players, Kenny Ibbett, Steve Bull, Matt Murray. They've all been joining in and making just random phone calls to fans.
Well, that's
an amazing. Yeah.
That's right, because actually my dad, he was 83, he had a phone call from Wolves, but it wasn't one of the players. It was someone called Brad or something. But he knew him.
Bradley Moore, he probably works for the foundation. Bradley.
Yeah, he knew him off the YouTube channel when he told him, "Oh, it's Magic Moss on Dazzling Dave's YouTube channel." He was like, "Oh, really?" It made my dad's day having the phone call, and I think that's a really nice touch that they've been doing as well.
This is where the foundation have been able to step in.
Yeah,
a lot of the great work the foundation they haven't been able to do, but they've taken this initiative, and fans really, really appreciate that personal touch, don't they, of the club just going over and beyond.
Well, it's shown Sorry, go on, Manny.
And one of the evidences of that is I used to do Friday football, over 35s football. Obviously, that arena has been handed over by the owners to the council to help prepare the food parcels that are going to elderly and vulnerable. So obviously the foundation have set up a WhatsApp group, and they set us garden challenges every week, and give us these prizes that they'll give us when we get out. So we're all doing these, kicking the balls over the fence and smashing our windows.
As well, Manny, I've seen on you as well.
Yeah, obviously everyone's been in the garden, the weather's been good, and so they've been keeping us actively involved, because a lot of people went to that football not to play football, just to have society. And some people who suffered with mental health problems, people who suffered with weight issues, or any issue they suffered with, they went and had that release in that event. And for that event to be cancelled suddenly is a huge hole in people's lives. So they've been really brilliant. Luke Shearing, I've got to say, and Lee Walker, Carl Akasov's been absolutely brilliant on that group, and they've been really sharing fun and keeping in touch and random messages and just getting everybody involved. So I think they're doing that with all their health groups as well. They have mental health, Head for Health. They've got all their separate groups are carrying on.
And one of the things as well, obviously we'll come on to talking about the lockdown in a minute. Obviously they've talked about this, the chief medical officer that's been on the briefings most of the days, is people's mental health from being, obviously having to stay in the house is very important, especially people that have no support around them. So that's a key thing that they're doing in the community to help with regards to that as well. So the other thing is, on the Europa League, and I saw this again today, the UEFA president has come out to say that if it's not completed by September, they're looking at abandoning potentially the Europa League and the Champions League. How would you feel about that?
Absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted. If he's giving us till September, though, I could see it being completed by September.
Well, you don't.
Yeah, I think it probably does need to get completed, but we're quite close, aren't we, to a resolution there that could reduce the semi-final to just a one match and the quarter-final to just a one match, just to obviously make it simpler to complete. That would only mean technically 4 matches. The second leg that we got against Olympiacos, 2 matches, and the final. There's only 4 matches they'd have to fit in, and even if that was every week or every Thursday for 4 consecutive weeks, I think fans would accept that, and I'm sure they will complete it.
They've talked about that. My view is we've all spent, as fans, a lot of money travelling around, getting planes, accommodation, following the team. We've only been first time in Europe in 40 years. It's been a fantastic journey, and for it all to be, considering they've been playing qualifiers since last July, to all to be abandoned, that, like you say, it'd be absolutely devastating. If we're going to go out, let's go out properly. But there's another thing I haven't like talking about you, Manny. If they do play the quarters and the semis over one game, where will they play? At a neutral venue, or
and just maybe draw a lot and see who comes out, and let's look at the draw. And the fans would accept it as long as there's a resolution at the end of it. Rather play a match, whether it's home or away, in a 90-minute game where you've got a chance to win on the field. So maybe they don't need to that. Maybe they can fit both legs in, and we get out of this situation very quickly. But if you look at, the amount of time this pandemic has took in, say, China, they haven't resumed a lot of their events and stuff, and they've been going months, if not a year, have they? So,
well, exactly. The other thing is,
I saw was like almost a mini World Cup tournament, whereby they bring all the teams into one country, and they're basically on lockdown in hotels. All the games are played in one or two cities locally, behind closed doors and screened live.
A bit like the Club World Cup. That would be for the either the final 8, or depending on the final 4, where they basically play all within a couple of weeks and or a week or so, and you'd play the semis or the quarters, then the semis, and then the final. That's been mooted as well.
But Istanbul and Gdansk were set up, weren't they? They probably invested a hell of a lot of money for this on their hotel infrastructure, whatever, their stadiums, catering for all those fans to come for these 2 big events. So, so it would probably work in those cities where if you took the final 4 or the final 8 and played it over a couple of weeks. And
I think that would be quite good. Again, it might be played behind closed doors, depending on when it is and what happens over the next couple of months. But I think to get a resolution one way or the other, again, a bit like the Premier League, it just would feel heartbreaking if they didn't.
If they didn't complete it, where do you start next year's tournaments? Who qualifies for next year's tournaments? Do we start again in July?
This is the whole thing, isn't it? If you don't get a resolution to your season and everything's voided off, it's kind of like it never happened.
Your season never happened, and you start again with the same sides that were in the competition at the start of last season. That's the only way, unless it gets resolved.
To qualify again.
Sorry? Well, maybe.
Well, I don't think. But if they've got through to the last 16, you'd think that the teams that have got through that far would be guaranteed a spot.
It's if they knock it all on the head and call it null and void, then if you think about the actual long-term thinking behind this, do strikers' goals stand? Their achievements do, it's quite, so if someone scored 30 goals or something and had their greatest season ever, that's something in the history books, does that get wiped away? And the other thing I've sort of thought about is, because we're moving suddenly so far ahead now with this big gap, are there also players at clubs who probably were thinking one more year here, or I want to move on, or maybe I'll look at the next step? Will there be people might think, because you start thinking about your families and where you've come from and spending more time with your loved ones, and this episode has taught us all of that. So there might be some players who might think, we don't want that to happen. I'm sure Nuno and the club, but there could be the 1 or 2 who might think, maybe I want to move on. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there's a point to that, Manny. I mean, listening to some of the things that are coming out about the players, at the moment it's kind of like they're viewing it like they're in the off season. They've got their training regimes, haven't they, from Wolves. They can't even, if they want anything, it's been delivered by the club. I mean, obviously Moutinho, Nuno, they've all gone back to Portugal, and they're with their families and stuff. So they're getting this extra time with their families, but they're hungry footballers. They'll want to finish the thing. And what happens? If Wolves win the Europa League, or we qualify for the Champions League, they're still going to want to stay. I think the key for me is Nuno. If Nuno ever moves, that's when I think a lot of the players will. But you're always going to get some going out and some coming in.
What do you think, Kev?
Well, I mean, you also got the issue with when majority of contracts expire, which is the 30th of June. So you've got players' contracts coming up here. What do you do about those?
FIFA have said there's going to be a universal contract extension to try and help with that. I think they've come out and made a statement how that will work. But you're right. A lot of players are out.
There's a lot of in workplaces. There's a lot of people already who probably were in their 60s, coming to the end of their careers, who've now decided, I'm retiring, I'm taking my pension right now because of the situation. Where the people who and ah, it's made their decision for them, and sometimes it does affect your thinking. When remember, they play football. Football is their life. That's what they've come here for. They came here to play football for Wolves, and they love playing, and they've embraced Saturday, or Sunday, Thursday football. They haven't complained about, and now suddenly for that all to be taken away, they've got to occupy themselves. And when you occupy it, when you have periods of time at home where you've got nothing to do because they're not going to train 24 hours, your mind starts to wander and you start to think, don't you? And you've got to. It's hard sometimes to keep everybody positive and thinking in the right, because it's the football that made them do that. So I'm sure Nuno's probably working really hard. I think they've got their own WhatsApp groups of involved players in the FIFA. I think John Ruddy, Ruben Neves all both joined in that Cardiff replay last night.
So, wasn't it? Reliving that.
I think that's all part of parcel of trying to keep them occupied. We give them something to do and give them other tasks apart from the training as well.
Let's move on to the obviously to the lockdown. How are you coping personally? Are you doing anything different? Are you watching anything that you could let the listeners know or read? And Kevin, as you're a business owner, how is it affecting you? So we might as well kick off with you and then go to Manny, because I know Manny's been involved in another one of his little projects that he's helping out with.
I know.
Go on then, Kev.
Well, my first and primary concern was our people and our people's safety. So on the 17th of March, we pretty much made the decision that we were upping in sticks and working from home, which was a massive logistical exercise. But we managed it in a couple of days. And within a couple of days, we were up and running from home and continuing to maintain the service that we got. For our business, particularly, we're a financial services business, so we have to hold quite big amounts of capital, and that generally is in stocks and shares. And we all know what's happened. They've fallen 25%. Which gives us massive challenges, but we're fortunate. We are fortunate we have enough cash to see us through. We've also been really conscious that people have got real financial limitations at the moment. So we're reaching out to all our customers, individual and companies, to see how can we help them through this period. Just being as flexible as we possibly can. But we touched on it earlier. We've got a mental health side to our business. So again, we've been reaching out to individuals, to companies, to see what we can do to help them with the mental health for their individually and for their people at this time. Because I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to be climbing the walls.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The longer it goes on, the more people are at home, the more that side of thing comes into play, and it's difficult. I mean, if you've got a house with a garden, you can get out in the garden, or if you live in a one-bed flat, and it's difficult.
And you're on your own.
And you're on your own. Exactly. It's really hard, and it's such a balance that I won't want to be making these decisions.
Yeah. And again, that's one of the challenges we've had as a business is, we have a lot of young parents working for us. And suddenly, not only are they expected to work from home, they're expected to be childminders, they're expected to be school teachers. So as an organisation and a business, you've got to say, we can't operate as normal. Normal's not possible.
Yeah.
So what can we do? What flexibility can we give the individuals that it does look after their mental health?
And that's a challenge for, I think that's a challenge for all businesses. From my business, who I work for, I'm involved in marketing and mainly dealing with the likes of, restaurants and spas and, places that people go to. They've all closed. So I've sort of been put onto that furlough status for the time being, which I think is a good thing that obviously the government have done to help businesses that genuinely need that, so they don't lose staff. I know, Manny, you've been having to be in self-isolation, haven't you, for 14 days? I think you work on the railways, you go back to work, but you're always keeping busy anyway. You've got
so I work for the railways, and we have to carry on. We've thinned down our passenger service, but freight, we're moving something like 370,000 tonnes every week of produce and equipment. So the railways has to operate. It is a signalling centre that I work in, about 40 of us in a building. So it's a risk environment that we're going to. My wife had symptoms, so I had to self-isolate. She's recovered, thankfully, and then my sister had symptoms. She's recovering. So my 14 days is over today. I've kept myself busy. You probably noticed me very busy on social media, which is unlike me.
You own social media, Manny.
No. Well, what happened was there was a fan who came up with an idea. He knew a singer, a girl who owns the Leaping Wolf in town, and her name's Kelly Ward. And he wanted to produce a single, a track for the staff at New Cross. I keep saying New Street because I'm a railway worker. But at New Cross Hospital. So she got in touch with 4 other friends, and they worked hard, and they produced this amazing cover version of True Colours by Cyndi Lauper, and they've added their own little rap to it. And they sort of contacted me because they wanted a bit of a hand pushing the fundraising and getting it on social media. So I've got to know these people who I've never met, and I've been living with them day and night, and we've been working on this project. It's on BBC Midlands today. It's been on, and it's been aired on ITV as well. And we've raised about £7,500 up to now, and we've got an assurance from the trust at New Cross in writing that all the money will be spent on the welfare of all the staff, from the porters, cleaners, to the doctors and nurses, for their, whether it's improving their facilities they have, their rest areas or whatever. It's for the welfare of the staff. That's what the singers were passionate about, and I've been working on that, and that's kept us really, really busy. And I managed to sort of get hold of some surgical masks, and I've
distributed that
initially. Initially got my sons, because they were sort of, my son drives, and he was really and said, "Dad, I want to do something." So we managed to get hold of some, and we put a tweet out and on Facebook, and we suddenly had a list of people, the elderly, loved ones, or vulnerable people who would like masks and they couldn't get hold. So we did drops. We just dropped them through the letterbox, no social contact, and that kept them busy for a bit until we were struck down, and we've been inside. So being inside, making the most of it. Also, on top of that, I decided to launch my own cooking channel on YouTube.
Yeah, no, that's good. If
I used to put the odd recipe on Facebook, and it was a fan who kept saying to me, "You've got to do a book."
Manny, you might as well plug it now. Come on.
Yeah, it's Mannys Punjabi Dabba. It's spelled Dhaba. Dabba is basically a highway stop on a road in India that sells food. So it's on YouTube. It's on my social media. You can
what I'll do as well, Manny, when I upload this up onto my my channel, Dazzling Dave, I'll put the link to your little your food channel, and I'll also put the link to the video of the girls singing. It's a Cyndi Lauper, isn't it? True Colours. Beautiful.
True Colours, yeah. It's a Facebook page called Voices for New Cross. The big thing is not the single. It's actually the fact that on the page, all the nurses and all the staff have been uploading their pictures and their TikTok dances and it's become a forum for them to visit of energy where they've been connecting with each other. It's almost become their page, they own it, and it's given them a new bit of energy to go to work with. So yeah, please follow it. Watch the track. Donate if you can, and you don't have to. Just sharing a message is a donation. So
exactly,
and just the cooking channel. I just do want to say, the aim is to get enough subscribers and enough views to raise funds for Dementia UK. So
which is a passion, very, very. You do a lot. Most exactly, very, very close to your heart. So I mean, whilst we're on,
we've got some serious food critics at Paycare. They've been critiquing your cooking.
Oh no! You know what?
The masala shouldn't go in there.
You know what? Kevin, my wife has been watching them and saying, "What have you done? What have you done? Why have you put the masala in there?" But I've tried to sort of aim it as I'm a bloke at home. Suddenly I have to cook, so I'm going to give it a go. So I always do say in there, give it a go. If you get it wrong, try again. And I even say like things. Just thrown the masala in. I should have waited. You know, so it's not perfection. Hopefully, nobody will suffer from it. I do cook it quite mild as well, so I can probably say she probably had a word.
You guessed.
No, you know, even my mom and dad are in lockdown, in total lockdown. They're in their 70s, but they're in a community in a block of flats where they've got a lot of company, so they're coping very well. And my mom. She's been watching them, and I'm refusing to answer her calls.
Oh, fantastic!
The bottom line, though, Manny, does it taste good?
It tastes brilliant, mate. You put some chilli in anything, it tastes fine.
If you put lots of chilli in it doesn't matter, does it?
Have you been watching any series or a film or any program or a book for people sitting at home that think, other than obviously listening to the podcasts and watching YouTube and stuff that you've done?
I need my football fix, so I've recorded pretty much every Premier League game we've ever played in. You know, the highlights. So catching up on that. But there's some great stuff coming out about past seasons, like the season reviews. Yeah. So just catching up on some of those. And
I tell you what, as well, if there anyone out there, check out my channel, because of my vlogs from the season. You can rewatch some of those as well. But there's a film I watched called Green Book, which I never heard of. I just watched it randomly, and I put it out on Twitter. And a few people have come back to me and they said on their thing, I said, "Oh, just remember you saying about this. It's a really uplifting film." So that would be one I would go out there. And I'm trying to read the Carl Hakimi book as well. I've got that, so working my way through that as well.
I've got out a book. I rarely read them. I got this book out, and it's been sitting on the coffee table for 2 weeks now. And Lindsay's dead. I'm putting it away. You're not reading it, are you?
You're just looking at the cover.
It's gone now.
Someone put one of these, you know, all these challenges going on social media. Name your 5 best so and so, and then you nominate 5. Somebody said, "What's your 5 all-time TV programs?" And I think I put It Ain't Half Hot Mom,
classic,
George and Mildred. You know, I put all things that I watched in
George
the 80s.
and Mildred, blooming hell, man.
I haven't watched any TV. Honestly, even the news we've switched off now, because you're getting all the tweets and the texts anyway, so you're following it. And so we sort of put that to. We've got 5 people in our house, and my sister, she lives with us at the moment, and she's suffering. So we've got a big household, and there's plenty to get on with and occupy. So everyone's being, you know, the kids actually washed the cars today. I even photographed them for, you know, that's going to go on my wall. I saw my kids wash my cars today.
Fantastic. Well, guess what? As we're recording this today, a year ago today, it is the semi-final. Watford. So I thought, you know, throw this out. A year on, what are your overwhelming memories of that day, and how you're feeling now a year on?
I've literally just managed to watch the replay of it. I couldn't do it.
I still haven't.
Maybe 12 months before I caught up on it. It was devastating, Dave. it was a fantastic day until they scored their first goal, and then it was devastating. Somebody said the journey back was awful. I can't actually remember the journey back. It was just a complete blur, washed out of my mind. But you know, what has our journey been like since then? It's just been incredible, hasn't it?
It has. My memories is we had this crazy idea. Obviously, we wear the turbans as the same colour as the tops, so we bought some jogging bottoms exactly. So we looked like three bloody bananas walking down Wembley Way, and you know, and we've still got those jogging.
You're trying to sell them, aren't you, Manny? I think
we've never ever touched them ever again. So I don't know whether I'm going to sell them or get rid of them or just burn them in the garden. You know. And to be honest, it was magical. Like Kevin says, it was the whole weekend and the fans and the camaraderie and the excitement. And you know, when I think back, I haven't watched the highlights at all. And when I think back to that Raul goal, it was one of the best goals I've ever seen Wolves score. The way he took it down and volleyed it in at Wembley, and I still can't even bring myself to even watch that, because I know what happened afterwards.
I know. I've got it saved as well, Manny, and I still haven't watched it back. My dad's, since I've been a little boy, you know, has always said one day we'll go to the FA Cup final and we'll sing Abide With Me. It's my dad's dream. He's 83 now. And I was upset more for him. After, I mean, I was devastated, but like my dad was holding back the tears because it was within 60 seconds of his lifelong dream to go to an FA Cup final with his son. And like he's 83.
I would have been there, believe it or not. I was scheduled to go to India and I couldn't get out the trip.
I know.
So I would have missed the FA Cup final. And I remember John Bray from the BBC, you know, we all follow on Twitter. John actually said to me, "Oh, when you're in India, when you're watching it," I said it'll be on a rooftop because you don't get much signal where I am. And he goes, "Wherever you are, get somebody to record you watching it, and we'll put it in a piece. If we, you know, it'll be an amazing moment. Somebody watching all those." So, in a way, you know, maybe I cursed it by not. I don't know, but it was proper pain, wasn't it? The feeling was like you can't describe that feeling.
It's probably one of the worst feelings that I've had in football, to be honest. But
there's been a discussion going on social media recently, hasn't there, about what's the worst feeling you've had?
Yeah.
And I still have to say Bolton.
I said Bolton as well. And the reason I said Bolton, I didn't go to the away game, Kev. You guys probably did. I went to the home match. We totally dominated the home match. We only won 2-1. Peter Shilton, of all players, who was about 65 or whatever age he was. And he was making save after save after save. It was the best performance under Graham Taylor I think we've ever sort of had. Bolton were a decent side. And the image of Bully on that pitch, just even thinking of it now, when he's got his head in his hands and he's just sitting there and there's no one around him, and because that was the prime opportunity for him to make it into the Premier League, and he missed out. And I agree with Kev, that pain.
I guess it's kind of tempered with what came after the Watford game compared to what came after the Bolton.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the irony is Watford never won a game after that. They got whopped in the final 6-0 by Man City, and I think we would have given Man City a better game and possibly even beaten them in the final. And then obviously we've gone on this European journey ever since, up until obviously it's all come to a grinding halt because of the situation. But so there is that cloud, as they say, every cloud has a silver lining, and that was kind of our silver lining.
But Lindsay said to me, she said, I was gutted, but I wasn't that gutted because I knew we'd be here many times afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that feeling. Even if you listen to the experienced voices of people who've been through the doldrums following Wolves and the gutting, when we lost in the past, the feeling was, oh no, this was our chance. We lost our chance. It won't come again. The feeling after Watford, even though it was tragic, it was, we're going to be here again. We're going to be up at these stages again. We're here to stay. The players we've got, the quality of players we've got and attracting, and the manager we've got is above and beyond anything we've had for decades in our lifetimes, you know. So,
and I think that they'll be stronger for that. I think Nuno learnt a lot from that game. You know, I think he will have learnt a lot with how that game was managed. I think he made some changes, didn't he? And probably, in hindsight, wouldn't have taken off all of our creative players. But like you say, you learn from it. And this team, like I said to my dad, and my dad believes it as well, we will be winning the FA Cup final in the next 2 or 3 years, and you know, hopefully many other trophies as well. Because we, like what you say, Manny, the team's just getting stronger and stronger. As long as we hold it together and we improve on it.
Yeah.
I mean, the team it's not just the quality, is it, and the talent, it's that team spirit that they've got. And that's what we take a great pride out of, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, this break, if you think about it, Wolves, I don't think any side matched Wolves in the number of games we've played. And we were all sort of fearful, weren't we? We were thinking, it'll catch up, it's going to catch up. And we've had 1 or 2 performances that have been below par. But in general, the recoveries we've made after playing on a Thursday and come on the Sunday and beating Spurs and beating City away and after a big European away, but this is probably, you know, obviously nobody wants to break for 3 or 4 or 5 months. We'll have a positive. We'll be a refreshed, energetic side raring to go, you know, for everybody. So.
Exactly. So we did win a trophy, actually. Was it yesterday? The Ultimate Quarantine Cup. For those that don't know what that was, it was basically Leyton Orient decided to put this fun thing together in a tournament to try and raise money. I think they've raised over £60,000, which is fantastic, and invited 64 teams to take part in a FIFA competition. Well, the response was that good. They ended up with 128 teams from Australia to Outer Mongolia to like Germany, Britain, all over the world, you know, and 128 teams. Wolves eSports, who, you know, they've got a really good eSports playing. I think he's the 5th best in the world or something. Got to the final through sort of like 6 games and won the final 2-1 yesterday. So Wolves put that tweet out, did they, of Conor Cody lifting the trophy. It was fantastic. So we have won a trophy this year. Sign of things to come, perhaps.
Yes, the trophy of the year.
Exactly. I mean, did you watch it, any of it? Have you watched any of it?
My son watched it. My son watched a little bit of it, and he says, "Dad, we're lucky here." And I said, "What are you watching?" And I went over to see. And I don't like FIFA. I can never join in because I'm rubbish at it. When I have a go, he just beats me 6 or 7-0, and I just throw the controllers. I'm never going to it. But yesterday, I only watched the bit when they walked down the middle of the pitch, the team, and they went on the podium. Then Connor stepped forward, and my heart was going off.
Fluttering, yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
It was weird. It was like, what are we doing here? Because we miss football, don't we?
And I think it's sort of like, and I'm watching the Cardiff game back last night, watching that, it's like, and then seeing us lifting a trophy, it's kind of like, I know it's virtual reality and it's not real, but it's almost like one day this is going to happen. And it was great. We got through. We've got a good record when getting to a final. It's just semi-finals, isn't it? How many FA Cup semi-finals in a row have we lost?
Oh,
is it 4 or 5?
5, isn't it?
Yeah. So next time, I've got a couple of questions going on to the Q&A session, and there's one that's really quite interesting here from Adam SG, who says, "Who has had the biggest impact since joining Wolves? Would that be Adama Traore, Raul Jimenez, or Diogo Jota?"
You know what? I've got a picture. I'm in my son's room, so I'll just show you the picture.
This is one I prepared earlier.
This is one I prepared earlier. Not him. He's out. This one here. Raul Jimenez. I think, Jota had been there the season, and we knew he had talent. But striker, that position is always like the key pinnacle. He's the one that gets people, he scores the goals, he takes the adulation, and we didn't really know about this guy. Didn't have the best of records, maybe he didn't have a chance, and I think he's been sensational. The way he plays, brings people in, his energy, his work rate, off the field as well, the way he conducts himself like all the players do. So for me, obviously Adama Traore has improved this season and gone on, to a level where anything's possible for him. But Bully was our king, number 9, the last one. After that, we've had several decent strikers, but this is the first one since him that you search and look for.
So you're going with Jimenez?
Yeah.
Kev?
I'm glad you answered that first, Manny, because it gave me a chance to think. I'm going to have to go with you, because ultimately it's about goals, isn't it? And we've had decent teams before. It's converting those chances, isn't it? And at this level, it's almost blindingly obvious, isn't it? But it's so important that you do convert those chances. You could go back into last year and Jimenez would just come up with that one goal, didn't it? That makes the difference.
We're not regular prolific goal scorers, are we, Kev? So that his goals aren't a hat trick in a 5-0 win. They are like the one he scored it away at Spurs. What a goal that was! The way he cut back and curled it.
Fantastic thing. What a pass though that was from Jota. How Jota got away, and I mean what he did to pull away, then surge away from them players, and then play that pass into Jimenez. That there is an argument, isn't there, for Diogo Jota. Traore's obviously improved a lot, but I'm gonna make it a hat trick and go with Raul Jimenez. And the reason for it, I think Jota's got a really strong, bright future, but he does tend to play in bursts, doesn't he? He goes through purple patches. And if he could get that consistency. But Jota, Raul, he's a complete striker in the air, the way he holds the ball up, he brings people into play, the vision that he's got, and his finishing. I mean, he wasn't really much in that game against Tottenham, but yet, when it came to it, he scored that goal. So I'll probably think at this point in time, a hat-trick for me, RJ9.
Can I add another question into this?
Yeah, go on.
Who do you reckon is the one player that you thought, oh my God, someone who's surprised you this season where you didn't think he would?
Pedro Neto.
Oh, that was quick.
Pedro Neto. Because I wasn't expecting anything from him, and he's just... I mean, if you saw again against Tottenham, you saw that one thing where he was on the byline, and how he got past like all them players and made them fall on their arse and look stupid. He is like Jota Mark II. He's 19. He's good. He's really surprised me. So I know Traore, I'd probably say he's probably the most improved, but Pedro Neto for me. Neto, go on then, Kev. You go next, then we'll go to Manny.
Traore for me.
Traore.
I didn't think he was capable of the level of play and the intelligent play that he's displayed this year. He's obviously got raw talent and raw speed, but again, it's credit to Nuno and the coaching team, isn't it?
Oh, unbelievable.
You can see he's coached.
But you look at all the players, how they've improved under Nuno.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Villa fans that were saying, he'll never do anything at all. And now you see him. If he's on Sunday, he's unplayable against any player in the world, because they will not be able to cope with him. So that was, to me, astonishing. But
you're Traore then. I'm Neto. So Manny.
Yeah, well, Kevin and Manny are going to beat you 2-1.
So you're going Traore?
I'm going Traore. Neto is, again, it's total surprise and he's totally fantastic. And if Jota doesn't play, Neto, when he comes in, is at the same level for me already. It seems to be. But Traore, at the end of the season, could have got a bid of 15, 20 million. The fans who would have happily, and not many of us would have moaned if he had moved on, because we thought, there's a lot of work there. There's no end product. He's just running down blind alleys. And then I start thinking, when Nuno said he needs a small squad, he only likes working with a small squad. It's because of the amount of time he gives to each player. It must be. Because the amount of time he must have spent with Traore to coach and encourage and cajole that ability out of him, because it's a different player, totally different player. this season to last season, and maybe that's one of the reasons, because he spends so much time with each individual player. If he had 40 players on his books or 30 players on his books, he wouldn't be able to get around them all. So for me, Traore, and as a person, he looks a bit, he's all sort of hench, and he wears different hairstyles and he looks crazy clothes, but he's actually, he's
a nice bloke.
He's very, very quiet and down to earth. He has a deep belief in his faith as well, which gives him a lot of encouragement, I'm sure. So for me, he has, like, I agree with Kevin, that when Jurgen Klopp comes out and says, "Oh my God, what do you do?" He was just, that game against Liverpool, the one we obviously didn't win, but we absolutely, second half, hammered them. Traore is just, someone, when he's on the pitch, every single player. Look at that Tottenham. Was it that Tottenham match where every Tottenham player just took in turns to just basically foul him? It was like watching Uruguay.
That was at home against Molineux. That was a Mourinho tactical class. Each of you get a yellow and stop him, and it worked on him that day. So it was great that we got the revenge, wasn't it? That was the last away day, and it was a fantastic away day. So 2-1. There's one other question here to ask, which is very quick answers before we get on to saying ta to everyone. Jack Grealish, would you have him at Wolves in the summer if we could?
That question? Go on, Kev. What's your thoughts?
So I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole.
Okay, Manny?
You know what? When you look at football ability, obviously he's got football ability, he scores goals and he creates chances. But the thing is, you've got to have a mentality about you, and I don't think Nuno would accept that type of mentality, and Jack hasn't developed this for us. He's been like that for a number of years. He's had these problems in his past. Still seems like he's got these issues. I mean, what he did just recently was just atrocious, when every player is trying to support, encourage people to stop inside. They're all showing training videos of themselves. Look at the Wolves players, the way they've been training in their living rooms and posting those videos in their gardens. Not just for themselves, because they're showing the fans, we're doing it, you do the same. You stay indoors, you play in your gardens, follow us. And they've been setting an example. And for him to do what he did recently was really, it's almost like if he was working for a company, it's a sackable offence.
Well, I that's where I agree with you a bit, and I think that's the thing. I think he's an immensely talented player, and you can't argue with that. But in terms of maturity and his attitude, like you say, go on Twitter and post that out, and then the next day he's caught drunk crashing into it. It's like, I think that would destabilise the Wolves squad, and it's the person as well as the talent. And I think, like you, Manny, I don't think Nuno would want that near our dressing room. Jack Grealish will probably mature, and in 2 or 3 years' time, maybe. But right now, I don't think so.
Remember Mario Balotelli? It was like you had loads of talent, but you thought, oh my God, if you ever went into a dressing room, it'd ruin it. Paul Pogba, he's gone into the Man United dressing room, and there's been.
And you've only got to see that it impacted Bruno Fernandes again with that Portuguese mentality, a bit like what we've got, and the difference he's made to United. Again, it's all to do leading by. Moutinho's like that for Wolves. He's like that winner, and he inspires everyone else around him. So I think that's a no thank you for Jack Grealish then, yeah?
Yeah, no thanks. Thank you, but no thanks.
Well, thanks to...
But what I think we have got in our dressing room is maturity. Even from young lads,
It's amazing.
like roles, maturity, and it goes from Neto through to Moutinho.
100%.
Maturity. But, the childlike behaviour that Grealish demonstrates would last 5 minutes.
In the past, we've always had players. You always get some players that don't turn up to training, or was caught in a bar, or was seen with in the papers with a woman. This type of thing has always gone on, even with Wolves squads. We've had players in the past who have done things like
when we went relegated down to League One, for example.
Nothing comes out of that squad because nothing happens. They're in the media. They're in their Instagram stories. They're more accessible than ever, so they're not hidden away. So we're there to see what the Wolves players are like, and nothing ever remotely comes out to reflect anything
Absolutely positive.
Got to be the leadership, hasn't it?
Well, 100%. Well, thanks to you guys for joining us again on this particular one. It's been a good one. Hopefully everyone's going to enjoy listening to this. I will put this one up on my Dazzling Dave YouTube channel as well, and I will put the links to those two channels and video in the description box below. So just Kev, give us your socials for anyone that wants to follow you on social media.
Kevin_Rogers at Paycare.
Manny, your socials?
Yeah, at Pedal Sing or Manny Kevin on Facebook.
My socials, Dazzling Dave on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow Always Wolves as well on Facebook and also on Twitter. And I've again apologise if the sound quality of this isn't quite what it would be if we were all together in a room with mics, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please leave us a rating on your podcast, and until the next one, from all of us, keep safe, look after yourselves, always Wolves.